They came knocking on my door at 6 in the morning. I woke up to them knocking. I approached the door, and as I was approaching the door was actually open. As I was approaching the door, the cop the FBI agent took the door, smashed it right into my face, and I fell to the floor, and they kept telling me to get up, and I was like, well, don't you want to cuff me? Because I didn't want to put myself in any position to get shot. And they stood me up, and that's about really, I don't really want to get into that. Just, I would have, if they called me, I would have went in. They don't need to send a standing army into apartment buildings of innocent people in our city. I'm someone who really cares about my city. I care about New Yorkers. I care about the safety of people. And I don't want to get into what actually happened, although it was nothing major. They decided that they were going to detain me. I have no history of violence. I only have a history of complying. And instead of calling me up or reaching out to me and taking me in safely, they decided to bring in a standing army of up to 30 people with machine guns into my apartment building at 6 in the morning. I just find that completely unnecessary. And I think that there was several people that, were involved in this matter, and they're going to continuously start going after several people that were involved in this matter, which is what they're going to do. But I just hope that they do it safely and not bring in a SWAT team and a military organization to somebody that doesn't have a violent past, doesn't have any military training, isn't involved with any militia or gang, just an ordinary citizen, a guy maybe tried to run for office. I don't have any convictions on my background. They could have just called me. They could have just called me. Also, we have the NYPD who's working joint with the FBI on a crime that happened in Washington, D.C. I don't understand why New York City and NYPD or New York City resources need to be going into a case that the FBI could have handled themselves. Maybe if they wanted to stand watch as they're arresting me, I would appreciate that, because I think the cops, NYPD actually cares about its citizens more than the FBI does. But I just don't think that as a citizen in New York City, our NYPD detectives should be investigating a crime that happened not in New York City. It makes no sense to me. It seems like it's out of its jurisdiction. But more importantly, if they're going to continue to round up citizens for protesting, do what you have to do. But please, if the person doesn't have any convictions, any history of violence, don't bring in a standing army to do it. It's very dangerous. What if my landlord, who tries to protect the building, came down the stairs hearing a ruckus and was like, hey, what's going on? And the cop got nervous and shot him. This isn't some house in the country where they could do a raid on. These are apartment buildings in the city. And they could have called me, and I would have gladly spoken to them about it. The whole street was lined up with cops. I would say there was at least 30 officers there with machine guns.
How was just your feelings when that was happening?
I was woken up out of bed. It was pretty shocking.
Were you scared?
I mean, if you had a standing SWAT team coming after you, I was confused too. I wasn't sure I didn't even know what it was about.